once I think that door opened, it was really empowering for me as a woman to feel like my own sexuality and to feel like I had some sort of power also in that dynamic,
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy approach to non-monogamy. However, it's important to remember that everyone does it a little bit differently, and the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please be aware that we aren't doctors or therapists. Consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 105. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have an interview with Laura and Casey. It's an awesome one. They cover a lot of ground in this interview.
Yeah, it's really cool because it's got how not to bring it up to your partner. It's got... there's an interesting flip that happens from the beginning to the end. Their dynamic is a little bit against the grain.
They talk about parenting.
They talk about how it was life-changing for her. It's pretty much got it all.
Yeah,
Soup to nuts, as we say on the show here all the time.
Anyway, few quick announcements. We're in a closet. Not like that matters.
and both a metaphorical and physical closet.
Sure. Anyway, first off, one condoms holiday survey. We have said this a few times the last few weeks, and the survey goes through January 15th. It's a fun, quick survey for all of you to do, and if you complete it, you get 10% off their website.
Yep. The other one is, it is the beginning of a new year.
It is.
Happy 2020.
Happy New Year.
With that being said, I think a lot of people are thinking about their health in 2020. So the first thing we wanted to recommend, now is a great time to go get tested for STIs. And the best way to do that we found, at least the most convenient and fastest way.
STDcheck.com.
Yep. There's links on the show notes, in the website, and on the little bottom of your podcast player. So plenty of ways to find them out. The other one is... You
get $10 off by using the links on our webpage, by the way, and it supports the show.
So we thank you. Another great thing to do this year. Support your favorite podcasters.
Exactly.
The other one is a new one we've been telling people about, beachbody.com. They have their on-demand streaming service. It's $100 for the year. It's super cheap. $99 for the year. We've been using it for years and years and years. We love it. Real quick, one example that... this isn't just like hey, everybody has to be super thin. It's really like I used it. We were using it for a while. We both used it. I know what you're about to say.
No.
But you talked me into running a turkey trot 5K.
Yes.
On Thanksgiving a couple years ago. I hadn't trained at all other than doing some of these workouts. And I actually ran faster 5K time than I did when I was on the cross country team in high school. So I was shitty at cross country in high school.
Or Beachbody worked.
But it also worked well. So among other results, I think it's worth checking out. If you do use the links, we get $8.
So thank you.
And you get to get a lifetime worth of workouts for $100 a year. So check it out. We use it and we recommend it.
And finally, we have our next Patreon Q&A video call scheduled for January 22nd. So if you want to find out more about that, go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, and click on the Patreon links there. You can find out how you can support the show and join the video Q&As each month.
And if you do join the Patreon, you get access to all of the previous Q&As. I think we've had 4 or 5 or 6. 5 or 6?
I think 5.
Anyway, you get access to all of those plus all of the ones coming up. So check that out.
And nope, again, 6.
And okay, squirrel. And again, we appreciate it.
I just was counting.
And again, to find all of this information, go to normalizingnonmonogamy.com or click the show notes link in the little the little footer of your podcast player, or just search for Normalizing Non-Monogamy in your web browser, Google, or Bing.
Or sure.
If you're a Bing user.
On our website, you will find show notes for every single show, including photos for most of our guests, and links for everything we've talked about, including the One Condoms Holiday Survey, the Patreon, and Beachbody and SE Check are all in those show notes. And they're also, we have a resources page on our website where most of those links are as well.
I think with that, we should let them hear from Casey and Laura.
Yeah, let's go. Welcome, Casey and Laura. We're super excited that you reached out actually fairly recently and wanted to come on the show. So we got your interview scheduled. Yeah, fast. And thanks for doing so. It's great to have you here.
We're happy to be here. And thanks for you guys being flexible and quick. So.
Hey, yeah. No, absolutely. Well, I mean, we don't know a whole lot about you, and presumably not many of the listeners know a whole lot about you. Do you mind just starting us off by sharing a little bit about who each of you are, and we'll take it from there.
I'm Laura, mid-30s, happily married. We live in the Pacific Northwest, and we've been kind of exploring non-monogamy, I think, for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yep. I'm Casey, mid-30s, Pacific Northwest, of course. And, we've been exploring, I think, maybe a little bit more than that. Just in talks and exploring our sexual energy inside since before. So we have 2 kids, 10-year-old or 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I think right before our second kid is when we started kind of talking about it. And learning every day since.
Yeah. So I guess our version of non-monogamy is, I would consider it probably swinging. You know, if you were going to put a label, we don't have to put any labels on there, but that's what I think we would consider.
Swinger-ish is what I always say. Swinger-ish.
Swinger-ish, yeah.
It's an ever-growing and evolving term, I guess, not to limit us anywhere.
And how did the conversation come up initially when you first
before they answer that, how long have you two been together?
Oh, we have been together for almost 20 years.
So, 20 years. First started dating in high school and then got married 11 years ago.
But before that, we played house since we were like 18. We bought houses together and just we're pretty committed, I would say, since a long time
2000.
Ago.
That's
About
a long
2000.
time ago.
So
yeah.
Cool.
Very cool.
Now, sorry for interrupting your question.
No, it's okay. It's allowed. So how did the conversation come up then a couple of years ago?
So I actually brought it up, I think, when we were 25. So as we've been together so long, of course, we've been through some major ebb and flows in our relationship. And, it was definitely at a lower point. I wasn't getting the sexual attention I thought I needed. And so I brought it up very abruptly and just said,
and totally inappropriately.
Yes. Now, we were mid-20s.
We were 20. We weren't real communicative, I think. This is how the conversation went.
I basically said, hey, I'd like to sleep with other people. How do you feel about that?
That's not how it went.
No?
Honestly.
Okay. That was a little time ago.
He's like, hey, we're not having enough sex. I think we should have sex. Maybe I should just have sex with other people. And I was like, no. That's pretty much the whole conversation. Like, oh, no.
Well, I remember it. She said, go ahead, but I'm not going to be home when you get done.
Yeah, I was like, sure, do whatever you want, but I won't be here when you get back, so please have a great time. So, and then actually, that's not when our journey really started.
But that did start our journey on understanding, our individual needs, and we came up with solutions at the time that worked. So, it was the starting of us realizing that. We actually exchanged Literotica. It's just an online naughty stories, erotic stories. Right. And so we would swap stories back and forth that we, thought we, got us excited. And that was kind of, one way that we used to just kind of keep that fun going.
Yeah, keep the magic alive.
Yeah, magic
long-term
alive.
relationships, right?
And that was back in your mid-20s then, when after Casey had said that he wasn't interested.
Late 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, as times would have it, we wouldn't find a story, and I would ask Laura if she could, recall a fun story, maybe one of her more fun, dirty
past encounters. Yeah, that's his. He's like, hey, what did you used to do? And I was like, I would tell him, and it was just talk. It wasn't like.
She, I could tell, was, really just musing me.
Yeah, I was like, okay, whatever. I'll tell you whatever you want to hear. I don't know.
And I found I really enjoyed that. And one night she told a story about giving a blowjob, and I was getting real excited, and she was like, oh my gosh, you would like to see that. I was
like, you want to see me give someone else a blowjob? And he was like,
I remember my stomach dropping out, thinking, oh my gosh, no, that would be terrible.
Right.
Thinking,
and he was like, oh, actually, really, yeah.
Really exciting.
I was like, okay. And then I was like, well, you can just keep thinking that. Just keep thinking about it. It wasn't like we were going to do it. It wasn't like it was like on the agenda at all. It was just, I was like, I give you permission to fantasize about that. It wasn't even like a thing. But then somehow, like, we just kept talking about it, and
she specifically said at the beginning that like it's fun to fantasize, because she realized like she really got into it. We had some really great sex.
Yeah, fantasize.
But I remember her distinctly saying, this is just fantasy. It's fun, but this would never ever happen in reality. And then
probably
can't say that.
I would say like a year after that.
Even longer.
Multiple years after that. So
it was very much a fantasy.
We moved really slowly, like molasses, but that's
we move at our pace. So then we started, at that point, fantasizing about it. I started listening to podcasts, and the first one we listened to, I think they've probably been off air for years. I can't remember. Swinger Cast? Is that what it was?
I don't know.
It was a really
something
old one.
That isn't still.
That's the one of the.
Yeah, that was one of the original ones.
It was, and so we really enjoyed, so that got us listening to just really what is even, what's.
Yeah, what is swinging? Like, what even is
Our
it?
stories from, the erotic stories really shifted from, pretty vanilla sex to very much swinging group sex type stories.
Yeah, just fantasy. So, I just feel like even just like for me as like a, wife and mom, my brain wasn't even open to like thinking about maybe doing sex stuff with somebody other than my husband. Like that door was so like shut, like boarded shut, like really, really not even thinking about it. So I think it just took like even multiple years to even like unbolt that door and even like open it and think, oh, that could actually probably happen maybe someday in the far future.
Yeah.
To realize, the level at which she was kind of shut down from that. When my mind was just, it's been in the gutter for many, many years. And so, to watch her growth, and, it's been slow, and, but now she's really, found herself and enjoys, I think, the fantasies and fun that we've had because of that. She's really opened up and found herself.
Definitely.
And so it was talking about it and fantasizing about it over and over and over again until you got to the point where you're like, well, we might as well just do it for real. Or how did it actually happen?
We finally got to that part, but I think what happened was we talked about it for so long and fantasized about it that then we were like, well, so I'm not really great at like leaving things. Like if we keep talking about it, I'm going to want to do it like in real life. Like there's not like anything, not just about this. So we were going to Las Vegas for a conference for work. And so we got there and I like preemptively Googled like sex clubs and swinger clubs.
You think Vegas.
Because you think Las Vegas. Going to be like the best for that. And then everything I saw on the internet, I was like, I don't know, babe, this does not seem like a great idea for me. And so then I found I don't know if you've heard of the, what's that place called? Sea Mountain. It's like a spa. kind of. And I was like, well, I like spas. So the worst that could happen was we would go to the spa and it wouldn't be like, there would be no sex involved, but we would just like have fun at this spa. So like, let's just do it. Because I think what we always tell each other when we are like going into new situations, we're like, well, what's the worst that could happen? Like we would like just hang out together and then we would leave. So like, just go for it. So
yeah, right.
We went there.
That's not a bad option.
Yeah.
No,
like,
the
it's called
pressure's not
spa, and like we would just go there, and it would be fun, right? So I guess that was probably like a couple years ago now. Everything in my mind is a couple years.
It was at least
but
years ago.
I'm really bad at time, so just go with that. So a couple years ago, we went, and we like there was us and like 2 or 3 other couples in the whole place. It was very chill and no like pressure, and we would just went at our own pace, and we met a super nice couple, and they were like, hey, come into this room with us if you want. And we were like, okay. Like we were not really experts at anything,
but they were definitely more experienced. I think had been in the lifestyle for a long time, but were really low pressure and made it feel very easy.
Yeah,
I just said, come into this. They have some little playrooms. And come into the playrooms and you guys can watch or join in or whatever you're comfortable with. But they also, they told us they were soft swap only.
Yeah, soft swap only. So there was like no pressure on us, to really participate in something we didn't want to do. So it was like the most ideal situation. So that was like our first.
It was simul play
in real life.
Really did.
Wienerish experience, I guess, and that was so good. I mean, like
it was just easy.
It was just easy, and it like felt good to both of us, and so that's why we continued on. Because I think if it was hard or not good or easy the first time, we would have been like, okay, pass. That was like such a good fantasy, but we're so over it now.
Yeah.
So it's probably good you didn't go down the Vegas route to begin with.
I think really good we ended up where we ended up.
That was our Vegas route.
That was as Vegas-y as we wanted to get
at the time. Later on.
I mean, now I think we could go to a Vegas club and like have a good time. Totally. But I think for the first experience, that was like ideal. And really all our experiences, I think, in the lifestyle has been so good. Like exactly what we needed then. It's so weird. It's like we take stuff really slow, so you can probably tell. And so just, stuff we've been talking about ends up like happening just kind of naturally.
We just, because I don't think we put any pressure on anything and try not to make any, expectations, which everybody says.
And when you went into that first situation, had you discussed like rules and boundaries, or was it just wide open? Like if we're going to go, like, let's just be open to whatever happens?
I don't think we had any rules and boundaries.
We knew safe sex.
Yeah, safe sex was like a for sure rule. Like that was like non-questionable for any sort of situation.
We wanted to be together.
Yeah, so we were definitely going with like, let's do this as a together thing, not be separate. And we had listened to like so many podcasts, you guys. I mean, I'm not even.
We had tried to educate ourselves.
We had tried to educate ourselves via podcast, which is, I don't know if that's good or not good, but we kind of knew what like sounded like other people's like, oh, this is what happened, and then it didn't sound like awesome. So we were like, let's not get into that situation, like first times, like where people are separated or where someone's feeling pressured. And so since we have been together for like a really super long time, I think we read each other really well. So we can kind of know by just even looking at each other's faces, like if this is like good or not good.
And, we really had no idea what to expect going into it. A lot of our fantasy talk never really involved couples in the beginning.
Right. We hadn't really fantasized so much about like interacting with another couple. It was mostly like fantasies about me with
like
other
MFM
people.
Type situations or for whatever reason, that's, kind of been our jam. I like the idea of swinging and really, I think I thought I would come into this having absolutely no problem. I get to go and do stuff with other women, and this is going to be amazing. But in reality, I'm really not there. I like the idea of it, but
even up till now,
Yeah, so
like
even
3
now.
years later, like we've explored with couples and
we've had
just
some great
maybe
times, but
not our dynamic.
not our favorite dynamic, which, like we said, it kind of ever evolves.
Yeah. I think for everybody, it's,
Oh yeah, it does. It always changes.
yeah.
So maybe take us through like how you that from that first experience to where you are today. Like, what did the evolution look like? Because something that you just touched on, like the couple dynamic really isn't your thing, and I think that's something that some people would be afraid to. I don't want to say embarrassed, but like, oh well, I'm supposed to want to do this, so why don't I want to do
the
this?
expectation is definitely there in the lifestyle that if you're a married couple, then what you're interested in is other married couples. It's just expectation, I think. And we've been to a lot of events and groups that, I mean, I've told people that I've played with single guys and they are like shocked that I would even admit that I like that. And it's a little bit like makes me nervous, to tell people kind of like where our dynamic is, because it is pretty expected. Another thing that's expected is that women are bi, and in our dynamic, I'm not bi, he's not bi. So when, I don't know if you guys go to a lot of clubs, but kind of how it seems to work sometimes is the women start playing together and then they move to the men, coming along for the ride kind of, and then everybody's together and then they're swapping and, kind of that's like, feels like almost a natural progression.
That is pretty common in our experience too.
Yeah. Or the women, they start dancing on the dance floor and it's this very slow, like two women, then they start to pair, like you said,
courting.
It's courting, but the women kind of make them move with another woman and in a sexual way. And I mean, I'm happy to make moves with women, like in a friendly, nice, kind, let's hang out way. But, so I just think it's odd in the lifestyle that everybody says they're so accepting of everything, but then it ends up to be like, well, you're not bi. Okay, well, you don't like couples. And then it's like, it's a little weird. So just in our experience, but
in a group of people who are so inclusive, and I feel like they're a little behind the times on, the homophobia on the men's side.
Yeah.
And then also, in so little judgment in the lifestyle, which is what I love, is meeting all the couples.
Yeah, we love meeting people.
Everybody has amazing stories and they're all super amazing people. But the only judgment I felt is when they find out that's kind of our jam is the single guys, and we kind of enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I'll offer that, perhaps part of that is that a lot of what we're doing is counterculture in a way, right? Like it's not mainstream yet. And so I think when you start breaking rules, people like to find other norms to follow. Right. And for a lot of people, I think the safest norm is like, okay, well, it'll be our wives, and then the wives will pair off with the other guys. And like, there's a very specific way that people are like, well, we're breaking out of the monogamy box, but let's stick to some type of guidelines.
We know, right? And what men know is having sex with a woman, and what women know is having sex with a man. And so the actual swapping dynamic is, I think, comforting, even though, it's not your spouse usually or your partner, but that is a comfortable dynamic. And so for us, I think what happened was we, had that experience with a couple, and then, we left from that experience thinking, oh, that was awesome. Great. What a way to start our lifestyle journey in a totally no pressure situation where we could just pretty much explore with each other and just be in the same room as another couple. Like, how cool is that? And so then we realized that swapping probably wasn't going to be our thing, only because he wasn't super comfortable with other women. And I was just kind of getting my thought process into, I could potentially do something with another man.
We fed that fantasy.
We fed that fantasy for years. I mean, we just definitely were like, okay, well, let's make it for real. And so what that looked like for us was that we found somebody on the internet and invited him to go to a hotel with us. And from there, it was wonderful, and I loved it.
Yeah,
he loved it. He loved it too.
Loved it.
No, I'm just joking.
So for me, I know, it takes everything for me to, have fun with Laura. And I'm done, that's enough work. But I know she, I could see, I've always known she was a very sexual person, and could really enjoy a situation like that. And so seeing that for the first time, I had no idea. I was, am I going to punch the guy? I knew I liked it in my mind, but you never know what you're going to feel in real life.
Yeah, in real life, it was definitely a big step for us. And so after that situation, I think I felt truly like empowered in my own sexuality because, I kind of felt really wonderful that I'd even made that happen, that I like went to the interview, found a guy, invited him to go to a hotel with us. I was like, I wanted to high five myself because I was like, this is so awesome. So, I mean, just little stuff like that. So, I felt really empowered. I had never opened that door in my mind to like maybe do sex with somebody other than my husband. And we had been together for quite a long time. And so, once I think that door opened, it was really empowering for me as a woman to feel like my own sexuality and to feel like I had some sort of power also in that dynamic. I think also in swinger land, right? Women do have a lot of power. Women kind of have the power to, put on the brakes, or women have the power to kind of say like, yes, let's do this. This seems awesome. And when you have a respectful male partner or female partner for that matter, they really want to make sure that you're having, a good time. They want it to be a good experience for you. So
yeah, well, like we even thought about going on, Tinder or something like that. But then realized that really people that are in the lifestyle, be it a single or a couple or whatever, they kind of understand and there's rules that they must follow. And they're at least understanding of consent. Now I think of girls going out into crazy bars and putting themselves in crazy situations when they're like, it's too bad that they aren't at the sex clubs, because in reality they would be so much safer there.
Right.
We've always had really safe and consensual people and experiences. Nobody's made us feel unsafe as in a swinger.
I've been groped a few times. I don't know if you've ever been groped.
I've never been groped.
Maybe once
yeah, okay. So I got groped once in Jamaica, but it was not.
It was far from a concern.
Deal. Yeah, it wasn't a big deal.
But yeah, I mean, it's just we feel so safe in those environments.
Yeah. No, and we've heard that from other people too, and experienced that ourselves, where it's like you feel safer in the swinging environment than you do in like a normal bar.
Right. And even just and outside of the clubs, even with the couples and the singles that we've met, they're all very much educated on consent and understanding the dynamic. Whereas I know me at 23, I had no idea. And until we really started delving into the podcast, I had no idea that any of this stuff even really existed in real life. On Pornhub, it was everywhere.
Right. Well, that's not real life.
But that is not.
So what does the dynamic look right now then? Is it similar to...
Well, hold on. Did you punch the guy during that first experience?
No. So yeah, I had no idea. I didn't punch him. There was a few uncomfortable moments, but in reality, I think once the clothes came off, then there was very little uncomfortable. I was 90% sure I was straight, but I had never even seen another person, another guy naked that close. I'm straight. There was nothing there. But it was like one of, my favorite moments in, our exploration of non-monogamy. Vivid memories. Yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, nobody got punched and nobody was like super uncomfortable. I was worried. So, once you are married and then, you say, he says he wanted it. He says like this was a great idea, but what if he wanted like shut the door really fast and it wasn't like good? And so, I mean, I think it went great. I think if it was uncomfortable or not good, then we would not be here talking to you today. We would say, okay, well, that was like weird. Let's never do that again.
Right.
But it was great, and it led to weeks of just the connection. And once you realize that, it does, even if it went bad, that it doesn't have to end what we have, that you can, we can grow, we can move on. What's the worst that happened? It's an uncomfortable, awkward situation, but in reality, we walk away and we still have each other.
So really.
Right. Well, was there any concern on your part that, like, I know one thing that people talk about, right, is they're constantly afraid that their partner's going to find someone better or something better or something to that effect. The awkward situation is sometimes the least of people's concerns. That doesn't even cross their mind. It's right. What happens if she finds
is like pretty, like, this is it for us. So there's not really like to me,
speaks for herself.
I have no interest in finding another spouse ever. Like, never. Like, if I was gonna find somebody else, like, so if I just want to like do sex with one person, I would do it with my spouse who knows me and loves me and like thinks I'm amazing. But if the whole reason to explore outside of that is to do sex with multiple people at the same time, so
something we can't do.
I'm not like. I'm like the least jealous person, I think. I don't really see that as like a thing. So since it doesn't cross my mind for him, I do have a little bit of a hard time relating if it was crossing his mind for me. Was that a worry for you at the beginning that I would find somebody better?
I've always been, especially early on in the relationship, I was more jealous. But if she chooses to be with me and I choose to be with her. And if she decided to choose not to be with me, it could be with,
the mailman.
Whoever.
We don't know.
It doesn't have to be with,
right? It's probably not with somebody.
BBC 2011 on.
Right, on Cassidy or something. We don't know that person. So. I mean, if that is a real person.
Yeah. Sorry.
We're going to get hate mail. No, that's fine.
So, I think that's, that worry is, it's always there for me. It's really deep down. It's not something I worry about, but I know, that if she finds somebody, it could be anybody. It could be a girl for all we know.
We don't know.
But also knowing that and seeing that, I think it encourages us to try to stay a little more on our toes and not to just get lazy and complacent to what we have, and not to just get stuck in a rut. And allow that to continue on, to go out and try new things. And so that's, Go ahead.
So nowadays it looks pretty similar to that, where you mostly play with single men?
Yeah. So
we wanted to make sure, we didn't want to make sure. We wanted to explore couple dynamic again, because since it's so expected and so kind of like easier to go to a place and find couples and hang with them. So
I want to back up a little bit. I want to start like maybe a year ago. Laura started encouraging me to, because up until recently, or we had just kind of, all of her experience had kind of been single male type experiences. And she was like, well, a couple, she was, we still talked about it. And so she started encouraging me to, even if I meet a girl on my own,
yes,
I have a hall pass.
Yeah, I did give him a hall pass a year ago. He's never cashed it in.
Cashed it in.
Come on. Don't you isn't that like the gold ticket or something? But,
and especially it's interesting because that was the way it was originally brought up back in your 20s, which was,
right,
I want to have sex with other people,
and
right?
I was like, oh no, right? And then I guess whatever, 10 years later, I know how old we are.
So, it started as a hall pass for, like a blowjob or something. And then, it's been a year. So it's just been increasing. And now she's basically like, whatever happens, you have fun.
True.
I'm not there yet with her. I want to be a part of any extracurricular activities. She doesn't really want one. Like she says, she likes the idea of multiple men. And she would,
multiple people. It doesn't have to be men,
but she would feel more. She feels more comfortable in those scenarios if I'm there. Another set of eyes keeping. Out.
Yeah. Of course, that makes sense.
And then if she wanted to do it single, like she said, she would just
probably hang with you.
Yeah.
So you have started exploring then with couples a little bit. You started to mention that.
Yes. So we did
3 weeks ago.
Yeah. we hung out with another couple 3 weeks ago, and that was awesome-ish.
It was a really quick. We had met them and chatted for
a little bit.
We were at a big, event, so there was lots of swingers around.
Yes.
All couples, for the most part.
All couples.
I think all couples. And we had met a couple and got along well enough, and kind of tried to make it happen and see how we felt. It ended up being soft swap with me and the wife. We had kind of had a talk about, they had asked us if, we would want to play with them. And we kind of explained our dynamic. And then we continued to talk. And she's like, well, you can, if you guys just want to take my husband, I can stay here.
She offered her husband, which was so nice.
It was.
Yeah.
They were very
They knew
nice.
what our dynamic was. And she was like, yeah, he can go with you. And I mean, in hindsight, I now know that I maybe pressured him just a little bit to get the chick to come too, I mean, not
She was pushing
in a
me out of my
mean
comfort
way.
zone. But
I
it's
just
good.
was like,
I'm not upset.
okay,
about
we've
it.
talked about it. Let's just see what, where this road takes us, right? And so we are really we don't have a lot of rules, right? We just have feelings. Does this feel good? Let's keep doing it. Does this not feel good? Maybe
We've talked about basically
don't keep doing it. We've talked about all of the things that come up.
Exhaustion.
Oh my gosh.
My favorite thing is
talking.
to talk.
He loves talking so much that I'm like, okay, yeah,
Except in
let's
this
do
podcast.
more doing and less talking. But so, then we had a interaction with a couple.
Yeah, and in reality, it went great.
It did.
It was really awkward for me. It was hard. I guess I hit it really well.
Yeah, I thought he was having a great time.
And really, I was.
He had a medium great time, and I had a great time. And then we reconnected afterward, and
that was our worst reconnection because it was probably 20 minutes after we were done that I had her in tears, which I had totally not meant to. So we learned a lot there. I kind of went in with all the, oh my gosh, I'm so awkward. And these were all the crazy feelings I had and things that happened because it was just, I was still processing. And she, we talked about it, and she was hoping that I would have had the
life-changing, amazing experience that I had with my type of kind of more first experience with another man. And I thought I wanted him to have that when he did stuff with another woman. So when that wasn't the case, that's why I ended up in tears. Not because it was a bad experience at all. It was mostly just because I wanted that so bad for him, from, for years now. So I don't know, when that wasn't the case, I was sad for him.
Yeah.
Well, and especially when you thought it was the case, and then you found out that it
I didn't
wasn't.
think it was amazingly life changing like it was for me, because I just truly felt empowered, and it actually changed my affect in my life. And so I didn't know if that would be that for him, but I just thought he would have more confidence in the situation because he was able to meet a woman and do some stuff. And I just thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be so awesome. When I heard from him, all of his insecurities about the situation,
the bad stuff.
Yeah, that I was oh no, this wasn't amazing for him. And so I think lesson learned is that when we reconnect, maybe don't lead with the bad stuff, lead with the parts that were awesome. And then
because it really was
some parts that were not amazing, maybe just review that later, right?
Yeah.
I was just so lost in the moment because I really did push myself that far out of my comfort zone, I think, which was good. I enjoyed every moment of it. The couple was amazing, super nice and willing to do whatever we were comfortable with.
Right.
Yeah. So that was fun. And that's where we kind of realized now we kind of know.
Couples might not be our thing.
I like to leave the idea open. And we still, we've been to a couples event since then.
Yeah.
I love meeting new people. I love hearing their stories, and everybody, like I said, for the most part, is the most inclusive, non-judgmental people you'll ever meet.
Yeah. And who knows, it might just be one day you'll meet a couple or a woman and it'll just click and you'll be well, this is the person I'm comfortable with. But until you do that, there's no need to pressure.
I kind of feel like I might need more of a relationship, and that doesn't necessarily mean a romantic relationship with a woman, but a more of an emotional connection, as friends.
Friendship, yeah.
And I might feel more comfortable in that situation. Like I said, I went into this, 10 years ago thinking, awesome, hall pass, women all over the place. And I've learned that's not me. And that's okay for now. But like I said, leaving the idea open to whatever really lies ahead.
Yeah. I'm curious on your side, Laura, you said, both of you recently just said that was really, really life-changing for you. Do you mind, I guess, elaborating on that a little bit? Like what has it changed? I mean, for you personally, and then also like within your relationship dynamic.
So our relationship, is long, right? And so we have ebbs and flows when it comes to communication and or like sexual energy, right? Because we have kids and I had pregnancies and hormones and just like a lot, over our relationship time. And so really, I think even just being, in the lifestyle has brought sex to like the forefront of our minds a lot more than if we were in a standard vanilla relationship where we like scheduled our sex on Tuesdays and that was it for us, right? So even just talking about going on lifestyle vacations or talking about meeting couples or talking about, going to a club or even any of those things, when you bring sex, even though that's not all about sex, but when you bring things that could lead to sex to the forefront of your mind as like a mid-30s woman, I think it just really it accentuates the sex life you already have with your partner. So that's changing for me, and then building confidence in myself as a woman and as a sexual person instead of just as a mom and a wife. So my confidence has definitely increased like tenfold when it comes to being, great lady instead of
just allowing her to be more of herself, and she took the role on of mom, and that was that's
that
been
role
10
is
years
real hardcore,
and a little bit of work, but being able to realize that she's still herself and
like a
allowed
person
to and encouraged to to enjoy that side of her. It was fun watching her grow and watching us, and our dynamic is ever changing now. We even something we didn't think either one of us would be interested in BDSM, and I know that means it's such a huge,
that's a big,
broad spectrum of things, but even a slightly, power exchange dynamic talk now, and that's super new.
And that just started, we just started talking about that less than a month ago, right?
Really
so
new.
That is super new for us, and we're exploring that now. And so, I just think that when you have a long-term relationship, things can get a little bit stale, right? Things can get a little boring. And so when you have even just exposure to something like BDSM or kink or whatever through this community, and then, just looking at each other and saying, oh, is that something you'd like to do or you'd like to do? That would have never come up, I think, if we were in vanilla life. I guess if 50 Shades just came out again or something, maybe it would come up. But you know what I mean? Kind of like that, your normal day-to-day life. I think this is just added some spice in there for us.
Yeah. Well, I think sorry to cut you off. I think it's fascinating, right? The 180 that happened from 10 years ago, right? And I kind of mentioned this earlier, to absolutely not. Yeah. If you go do that, I won't be here when you get home. To this is just a way to spice things up, and it's a confidence builder, and there's all of these different things and maybe that was just time, right? The time being in that relationship and being I think we do need some spice.
A big part of it was that, in my mind, I loved him very much and I had sex with him. So in my mind, love and sex were so connected, right? So I thought if he was having sex with other women 10 years ago, that must mean that he loved them. And that means there wouldn't be enough love left for me, right? That's just the way my mind worked. And I'm not saying that's a good or bad way to think, but that's just the way I thought at that point. And so even having me having had sex with somebody else and realizing in my own mind that love and sex are not really the same thing, and that love can be separate from sex, and that sex doesn't have to be, and I mean, sex is intimate, yes, but it doesn't have to mean an intimate relationship with somebody else. It could just mean fun and play, right? So knowing that about myself made me understand that a hall pass to him isn't me giving him a free pass to love somebody else instead of me. So I guess I've worked through that, in the last however many years. So now that's not so intertwined. So I think that's why it's different for me now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome.
And what I was going to ask was, you've mentioned that you're both parents, and do you have any tips for kind of turning that mom and dad brain off and switching roles? Because I know that it can be very difficult.
You better be lucky with some grandparents.
Yeah, get a good set of grandparents. Just ship your kids off to.
If our
we didn't have parents that
weren't as supportive and
local,
and willing to take our kids
for weekends or even a week at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't go, who can go on a lifestyle vacation when you have small children at home unless you have a really trusted family or babysitters?
Networks, yeah. So having other people, it takes a village, as they say. Even with our parents able to watch our kids, I mean, we're lucky to get out one night a month, really.
Yeah.
Because we have them watching them for, while we're at work now. So it's a little harder to pot them up on the weekends too.
Right.
So yeah, it makes it hard. Thankfully for me, a lot of the fantasy talk and even, long-term planning, just having something on the calendar that you can look forward to. Taking the opportunity to seize the date, mark it down, figure out childcare, and then, commit to it. Then you at least know something's coming.
Yeah.
And that helps.
And also having consistent bedtime routines where your children don't sleep in your bed. That's pretty awesome. That's like a real life tip. Like if you want to co-sleep, that's wonderful and more power to you. But unless you're really creative about sex somewhere other than your own bed, you will never have sex again. Like
our sex life
was like in the toilet
for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, when I co-slept with both my kids, and I mean, I would not recommend that. I just wouldn't recommend it. But I mean, it's great. It was really bonding experience for them, for me and them. But just get a bedtime for your kids and put them in their own room sometimes.
And take the time.
Take the time, because I think that what happened was just I read recently, maybe a while ago, about a woman's sex drive. If you use it all the time, you have a high sex drive. But if you don't use it very often, if you don't really explore the sexual side of you, you'll lose your sex drive as a woman. And your brain doesn't work just by thinking about it. Like men won't lose their sex drive. They can just think about sex and they'll continue to want to have sex. But women, if you don't actually the hormones that are released when you do sex, you just won't want to do it anymore. And so I think that in a long-term relationship with kids, that's a real relationship killer.
It's easy to get stuck in those ruts, and with kids, it's tenfold. So it's been a challenge, but we know that we've got 30 years in the lifestyle if we wanted to.
We've seen some people that have probably been in there for quite a few years. So we're not in a rush. We don't have to check all the things off of our bucket list today.
We've checked a lot off, and that's our it's an ever evolving thing too.
Right.
So just talking, and that's really the talking is what makes us understand what our fantasies are, and maybe things that we would like to do in swinging or group sex or just between ourselves.
Yeah.
That's how the power dynamic talks started, and just from fantasies. So the communication that the lifestyle's brought to us, and you hear it from everybody, because the second you talk about going away from the social norm and having sex with other people and non-monogamy, is just, you can talk about anything after that. It's very easy to figure out where you want to eat dinner, or
right.
All those are so insignificant in the grand scheme of things that makes talking easier.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious then, being nosy, and you don't have to share an answer to this, but is there something on the fantasy list that has not been fulfilled yet?
So many
things. Of course. I mean, what's the point of fantasizing if you don't have unrealistic fantasies, right?
And
all right, what are the top two?
Oh, gang bang. That's number one fantasy.
In multiple different scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, all sorts of different scenarios there. And then what else do you think?
I've recently would like to, the black rooms or whatever, the dark rooms, I think might be a little comforting, like more of an orgy situation.
Yeah, like an orgy in a dark room. I don't know if you've heard of that, we've heard of it from a couple of people, like in European clubs.
Yep.
Where you don't necessarily know anybody who's in there.
You don't know anybody who's in there, and it's black, like actually pitch black.
Wow.
Be kind of weird, and I would probably be scared to death, but it seems intriguing. The idea of an orgy, I think, intrigues me because, it's kind of that couple dynamic. But if I'm unable to perform or I'm just not interested at whatever level, there's so many other people taking over that not all pressure's on me. Which I feel uncomfortable with the couple dynamic like we've discussed. And I think some of that is just, I like to be focused on her and what she's doing. And I feel like you can't really do that in just a couple situation because I should, the wife deserves every bit of my attention, but really that's not where I want it to be. So in an orgy, I could be really enjoying watching her and doing whatever I feel comfortable with. And then there's a bunch of other hot stuff.
Yeah.
I have a fantasy about more BDSM type stuff, but I don't really think that's ready to be into fruition yet.
We're so
right at the very beginning that it's we have a lot more talking to do.
Of those fantasies that we're just starting to understand, and I think eventually we'll check those off of our boxes as well.
Have you thought about using the terms hot wife or cuckold at all?
So I'm and I don't want to sound bad to people who do enjoy cuckolding.
Yeah, no,
there's such a bad.
You won't, and just was going to ask.
No, and I don't. I not at all. It's not my. I feel like the cuckold is more of a little bit of humiliation.
Yes, it is.
Hot
wife is not as much.
Yeah, and so then hot wife to me is more of I enjoy watching her get dressed up and going out and maybe her texting me pictures of her day and having stories to bring back to me and tell me how much fun she had.
Yeah.
So I think the latest thing that we found was stag vixen.
Yeah, the stag and vixen dynamic I think is more fits to what we enjoy now. But that can always change too, I think. I mean, everything is so dynamic. I don't think cuckolding is really where it's at for us. It's just that power dynamic of me having the power and him feeling semi-humiliated. It's definitely not.
I have enough issues. I don't.
Yeah, we don't need to put that into account. That's not good. And the hot wifing sounds good in theory, but I don't identify that way, as a quote unquote hot wife. It's just not really it doesn't feel like what I am to myself. So I don't want to identify with that because it's just not my thing.
When I went down the rabbit hole of the fantasy, when I discovered it, hot wifing was the genre I would go for because the stories are definitely in this, in our play style. I do enjoy sitting back and watching for moments, but the cuckold thing to me, I don't want to just sit back and watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then
I like the stag and vixen too.
Yeah,
stag and vixen. Cool. I don't know. I mean, that just feels better to me.
And I'm afraid to lose the swinger-ish because I do enjoy the community so much and the parties.
We don't want to I think that if we I told the world this is so everything that has happened for us up till now, we just visualize it, talk about it a lot, and then it happens for us. So I feel like if we just totally focus our attention on fully only single guys, or like our fantasies like with multiple people or all men, that's probably what's just going to happen next. And I just want the universe to know we're open to all the things.
Open to, I mean, we want to try all the things at least once or twice.
Yeah, no, that's a great attitude to have.
One chance at this, and once we've understood and know that there's a different way to that really we can define our relationship however we want, and there's no boundaries to that.
Exactly. And you can try something and then decide you don't like it too.
And what's the worst that's going to happen? We know that we're here.
We'll just hang out with each other instead. Yeah. That's the worst thing that could happen. We still have each other.
We still have each other. And it's that makes things easy.
Awesome. Have you two told anybody in your like vanilla lives about what you've been exploring together?
She's told her friends.
I've told some of my friends like a little pieces, little bits and pieces. I mean, so the kind of the way we look at it is like, so with our, swinger or non-monogamy, it's mostly really sexual, and we don't really invite like a lot of talk like with our families about our sexual behaviors.
I don't want to know what they're doing.
Because we don't want to know what they're doing. They don't want to know what we're doing, period. So I think if our dynamic was more of a polyamory or relationship with multiple people, then of course our family would know about those relationships because we are having relationships with other people.
People are coming over a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, but if our relationships in the swinger lifestyle or non-monogamy is mostly all about sexual stuff, we don't really need to share that with people, right? That's just how we feel. But I'm not saying that I would never tell anybody. If somebody asked me directly, I would be honest-ish, mostly,
honest to a rated G.
Yeah, G-rated honest level of honesty, right? Like I would let them know, kind of.
Yeah, like you won't deny it, but you aren't going to go into detail.
No, I'm not going to like write emails to all my friends and family. Like the Christmas letter is not going to include like what we've been up to, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, and I think that's perfectly legitimate, and I think that's where a lot of people come down is like it's your sex life. You don't need to tell everybody other than on a podcast.
Right. Other than like everybody out there that's listening to your podcast, which I'm sure is like millions in the trillions, right?
It's actually half a trillion.
Okay. All right.
Maybe next week it'll be up
to the trillions.
We're doubling weekly.
Yeah.
So.
And nobody talks about sex in the vanilla life. It's amazing, Nobody. I've got some friends, and very rarely does this subject even come up. And then you go to a lifestyle, and it's you instantly know what kind of vibrators girls like to use.
Right, and you're like, whoa.
But in real life, it just never came up because I know if it came up, I know with my close friends, I would instantly, with no hesitation, tell them. And sometimes I think you need people to tell other people. Because so many people don't know it's an option and doesn't even they don't realize it exists, or see relationships where it does exist and it does work. You hear horror stories.
Yeah, you always hear the bad stories. You hear the ones where somebody like became a swinger and then left their husband, or their wife or whatever. And the whole reason, I guess, in the people's mind is that they became a swinger.
Why do you divorce people? Because somebody cheated.
Right. So then they all think that that's the issue. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there was other problems. Like they couldn't just become swingers and then they were like, well, we can't be married anymore. I mean, it's not actually.
It's not that black and white.
No, but that's the story that keeps getting told over and over, right? So then the whole your whole vanilla community thinks, well, they became swingers and then they got divorced. So of course nobody else wants to do that. I mean, that's so scary, right?
And, it happens with, I think all the communities of people, whether it's, the furries or everything, if nobody knows about it, it's so taboo and so crazy. But as people start, creating genres for these things and seeing it and knowing that it exists around them, it becomes less of an issue. I think that's kind of from a Dan Savage standpoint, where he encourages, people to say they're bi, even though there's no reason,
there's no reason to say it.
Yeah, other than just to let people know it's okay. I'm married to a woman or a man, and I'm bisexual, and that's how we identify.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. Well, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you were hoping to talk about tonight that you would like to get out there and share before we let you go and enjoy your evening?
I'm going to just cover this like super briefly. I have been in the lifestyle with I don't drink. And so I feel like that's kind of another weird sticking point with people that they want to drink a lot or think it's weird that I'm not drinking or, there's a lot of weird pressure. So just if there's other listeners out there that are non-drinkers, I'm with you. It's okay to not have to have 6 glasses of wine before you interact with somebody. That's okay. I mean, I think that's another reason why I feel so empowered is because I made all these choices to do things with my body sober. And so that's not always the case, I think. So
we have a hard time in a lot of the club situations that we've been to because of the party. We're not partiers, really. We're
partiers, but I mean, we're really fun, but we don't drink a ton.
So I drink very rarely. And it's strictly by choice, other than it makes me sick and tired, and I act like even more of an ass sometimes if I'm drinking. So we've met some couples who are, there's a lot of alcohol, and it's understandable because everybody's a little nervous and anxious. It helps loosen up, and we don't mind people that enjoy drinking. Don't people that drink drunk, but drinking's fun. But we get a little bit of judgment there. And,
people are kind of
we just don't drink.
Yeah, we just don't drink. So.
That's unfortunate that you experience the judgment. However, it also shows you that they just might not be your people.
And that's really we've only met a few of our couples that have been the slurring, drinking and or talking, and we kind of have to just say, well, they're not our tribe, and that's okay. But it's just something. It makes us feel good knowing that we've made all these choices sober, and I have those memories burned into my brain. Yeah, because
we can remember all of our experiences the next day, and the day after, and the day after, and I just wanted to encourage other people that it's okay.
Well, I wanted to make a swinger club that is really more low key, where you can talk, because that's really what I enjoy is and we meet, I know it's not just us, because we meet a lot of couples who the same way, it's so loud and they're like, I wish it wasn't loud. We could really chat and get to know each other.
You have to scream all night.
So to have something with a little bit more of those options.
Low key vibe. We're going to make that happen someday.
That'd be super cool.
It's a big dream, but
it's going to be
fun
like
to dream.
A coffee shop or something.
I love coffee shops.
We're going to swinger coffee shops because we may be the first ones.
Well, we'll send people your way.
Yeah, thank you. I love coffee shops. We might have to visit too.
And you guys are always welcome if you come to the Pacific Northwest.
The other quick question I wanted to ask was how you've handled safety too in the lifestyle, both mostly your sexual safety.
Yeah,
it's been really limited on my part. Soft swaps with one person, so it was never an issue, but it's always been protection. Anytime that someone else is involved, there's always condoms being worn.
Yep.
We recently did testing.
Yeah, we tested I've been tested previously, and then I got tested again really recently, and condoms for sure. And then I asked people, about their testing status, or tried to, so that it's
have that conversation.
Yeah, I try to have that conversation. I am pretty forward. I think in the interaction, so it doesn't feel weird to just ask somebody, if they have anything that I should know about, right? And
she's always been great at talking, communicating her needs and what she requires.
What I require, and then talking about the protection and making sure they're comfortable with that. And I think we're wouldn't say like we're 110% safe because sometimes for oral interactions there isn't always a barrier involved, but we live a life of risk. Everybody does, and so I feel like we try to mitigate risk as best we can. To our comfort level.
We're comfortable. As I say, that's your accepted level of risk, and that's okay.
Right, and so that's our accepted level of risk, and we just, as long as me and him are both comfortable with that, then we'll just continue to live like
always
that.
Protection. I have my hall pass that'll be used at some point.
And hell use protection then.
Up until recently, I had been close to 20 years since I had sex with anybody else. So she was tested a little, has been tested more. It was my first one, and she told me that somebody stuffed something.
I did maybe tell him that he had to have a swab in his penis, and he was not into it.
So if anybody wonders, they do not. And so I was really nervous about that.
I'm like the meanest.
I was like, that's kind of mean.
I was terrified.
I am a little bit mean.
And so to her defense, they did do that, I guess, in the past. But
yes, and you needed to be tested for specific diseases, but they don't really do that now.
No, so it's easy. So I encourage people. It really was.
I just you can attest to that. They have not done that to you.
No, I've been tested a lot of times, and
not once.
There's only been
shoved anything. Okay, good. Because at that point, I was like, man, you guys talk about it so freely. And I was like, there is no way. But they don't. It's real easy. I went straight through my doctor.
I went to my doctor. It was not a big deal. It was not, for one, nobody questions, like here where I live, like it's very accepted to have your sexual health tested. Like, so I just went to my regular doctor and was just like, I want all these tests. And he was like, okay.
Yeah,
and
I wish
it was like not even questions. Like there wasn't like I know some people are worried about having that awkward conversation with their primary care provider after they've been married for like 20 years, but there was no conversation. It was just okay.
Yeah. And I think that does vary depending on where you live, but
I'm sure,
I'm glad you didn't experience that.
If your same doctor has remembers you from when you were a kid, and it can get awkward. So there's a lot of people who I think online, but they really should. It's nice. It makes me feel confident knowing that I can show anybody my test results, and have them understand that it's been 20 years since I've had sex with anybody.
Yeah, awesome. And last question, do you have any bloopers that you would want to share? Funny things that have happened?
I did just say that I was going to tell him. I told him that somebody was going to put a swab in.
I was like, that is a pretty good one. I didn't think about that, but yes.
I feel like that was not like a super nice thing to say.
The only awkward situation, I guess there's two, but really I think this one, the one in Vegas, we had the great time at the Sea Mountain. And then maybe a year or two later, we went back just as a getaway. Yeah, we went on a weekend getaway to Vegas because it's like close-ish. Yeah, it's a short flight for us. And so Laura picked out a swinger event, right? Yeah, I found it on the internet. It was like it was advertised as a get together for swingers at a hotel. And I'm sure it's still advertised. I don't remember the name of it. I probably shouldn't ad talk it, but I'm going to. Oh, it was terrible. So we went there and we were like super looking forward to it. And it was like 5 or 6 couples in a suite, a hotel suite. So we were like, okay, this is gonna be awesome. It's like we can still interact and talk. It's not like super loud, and it was good. So then we got there and there was a man running this swinger circle. I did air quotes there because it was not good. The man was like a power tripper, and he kept yelling at us when we didn't play the game right. Nobody wanted to play. None of the people just wanted to play the game. And we all just wanted to interact. His game was pretty cool. His game was like a stripping game where he would tell if you got the question wrong, you'd have to take your clothes off, and nobody was comfortable really taking their clothes off. And it ended up, I'm not even joking, it ended up with all the women being 100% naked, the men still having their clothes on,
and the women being put in a room away from their spouses,
Which
naked.
we had discussed. People had discussed like we're so new and we
don't want to be apart, and it was so weird. It was like not good, and then
the women all rose up.
We were like, if you unzip our clothes, we're leaving, and then so we like all left as a group. I like Googled,
that's some really nice people.
Like other swinger stuff to do in Vegas, and I told everybody that was with us, all the other couples, I was like, we're gonna go to this other party. Do you want to come with us? And so we ended up taking that weirdo guy's whole couples. Everybody left and went to the next place
fun.
with us. So I guess it would be like a blooper, but it was like our one weird swinger experience. We were like, what are we doing here at this hotel with our no clothes on and some power tripper guy like directing us? Like, this doesn't seem cool.
And we met some fun people and had a great night.
Yeah, we ended up having a great night, but it was like...
Yeah.
I love that you hijacked his party and we're just like,
let's get out of here.
We're like, let's leave.
And you know he had been doing it for a really long time.
He had been...
Some people maybe have great experiences
maybe
with it, but for us,
another day with another group of couples, it would have been awesome, but I feel like the way he gets people to continue to come to his parties is because we're all tourists in Vegas. And so nobody really knows if it's going to be awesome or not. So, yeah, it wasn't awesome.
It wasn't awesome. So that was like...
I mean, it sounds awesome. Like that you...
It was... In hindsight, that was some really good memories.
We had some great memories. Ended up having a great time, but not at that party.
Yeah, it was
right.
Yeah.
Everything else has worked out so well. The blooper of starting off with the bad part of the couple experience.
Yeah.
But we have way more bloopers in real life than swing life.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah. And that's I think a good note to leave it on too.
Yeah. And I hope we kind of stayed enough on track. I know it jumped all over the place.
Oh, you're fine. No, you don't need to apologize.
No, it was great.
It was awesome, and we're super happy that you two came on and shared with us, and we're excited to hear how it progresses. Maybe we get an update in as you say, a couple of years. Everything's yeah, and we'll hear where you're at then. Maybe the hall pass will happen, and you can hear an update on it.
Yep, lots of new stories gonna come true.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. We're back.
Yep. I just want to say, well done on that intro. I think we nailed it.
I think we nailed it too. A little long, but
wow.
Not too bad, actually. It was under 5 minutes.
Absolutely. That's my prime time.
We covered a lot of ground.
Thank you to Casey and Laura for sharing your story. It's awesome, and we're super happy to get it out there. Yeah. What else? What else do you want to tell them, Emma?
Next week, we have an interview with Rachel. And she is actually a partner from one of our previous guests.
Yep. She is Norm's partner, so if you want to get the background scoop on this, you don't need to. But if you want to hear Norm's perspective, that's episode 80. And this one, you will get his wife's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
It's awesome. So
it is.
Stay tuned for next week.
And I wouldn't mess with her.
No.
So we're looking forward to that. And we will see everybody in a week.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.